lovely people, my name is Emma and today I'm doing my SpringAthon TBR, which is also going to double as half of my May TBR. So SpringAthon is from the 4th to the 17th of May and it's a readathon focused on nature writing books or natural history books in general. I am one of the hosts, I'll link all the information down below, and there are 5 prompts. I have 3 books per prompt, one which is high priority and then 2 more that I just kind of hope that I'll get to. The first ones I'm going to talk about are plants, and now one of these books was actually from the video I put out recently about 10 nature writing books that I really want to get to that you guys helped me pick from. So that I will be telling you which books I end up picking from that in this list. So the one of the ones that got picked from that list is the Cabaret Plants by Richard Mabey. This is an illustrated guide to 40 different plant species that have been very influential, if for whatever reason, throughout human evolution and kind of humanity in general. It looks really interesting and exciting, so that is my high priority plant book, but I do have a couple more to talk about. Another one that I want to try and get to is The Secret Life of Trees by Colin Tudge. This is basically all about trees, as the title suggests. I picked this up relatively recently in Topping & Co. Oh, it's got a rip in the back, that's such a shame. And it is just looking at specifically the history of trees and how we understand them and why they're important in our ecosystem. It's absolutely gorgeous and I'm really hoping to get to it. Now, the readathon is focusing on non-fiction, but you can read fiction for it as well. So with that in mind, I have The Day of the Triffids by John Wyndham. John Wyndham is a sci-fi author from the 50s. I'm a huge fan of his. I've read 2 of his books already this year and really enjoyed them. This is probably his most well known. It's been made into several different movie adaptations and it's about plants that take over, which is very exciting. The Triffids are mobile plants with lethal stingers and carnivorous appetites. So this is set to be really good fun, and yeah, I really love John Wyndham's writing, so it's a bit of a no-brainer. The next prompt is birds, and I'm actually being a little bit cheeky in this one, and everything that I'm reading for this is going to be about dinosaurs. Dinosaurs and birds are indeed super closely related. In fact, birds are technically considered avian dinosaurs, and dinosaurs as we officially know them today are considered non-avian dinosaurs, so therefore I think this counts. So I do have 3 books about dinosaurs. The one that's super high priority for me is Dinosaurs Without Bones by Antony J. Martin. This is looking at trace fossils, which is another way of understanding prehistory. So rather than the bones specifically themselves, it is things like footprints, stomach contents, fecal matter, things like that, and how we can use these to understand how the animals lived rather than just like their anatomy and their structure that you get from their fossils like their bones directly. I'm super psyched for this. I actually very recently listened to an Audible original where there was an interview with Antony in it and he was talking about the importance of trace fossils, and it really reminded me of how keen I was to get to this book. It's a bit of a chunker and it looks very technical in places, so this might be the only one that I do for birds. But if I do get to any more, then one that I really would like to read is Discovering Dorothea by Karolyn Shindler. This is about the pioneering fossil hunter Dorothea Bate, and I'm assuming it's going to be quite similar to The Fossil Hunter by Shelley Emling that was all about Mary Anning. So I know nothing about Dorothea Bate. I've never come across her name in all the dinosaur stuff that I've read or listened to or watched, which is fairly typical for women scientists and women collectors from the time period. She was collecting in 1898, so a little bit later than Mary Anning, so I'm hoping that this will be really interesting, and I love a bit of kind of both history of ideas and history of science, but also a chance to spotlight a female scientist who has been forgotten in time, so it should be really good. The final one I'm hoping to get to is The Lost World by Arthur Conan Doyle. I have this on audiobook, but I do have a physical copy coming in the post fairly soon. This is by the author of the infamous Sherlock Holmes books, and this is one of the early examples of the idea of finding dinosaurs still alive today, and I believe was the inspiration for some of Jurassic Park. I know the second book riffs off of the title of this one. It's quite short, so it should be good fun to try and get around to it. The next 3 prompts, a lot of the books I have for it are relatively interchangeable. The first 2 I have quite strict plant and bird kind of ideas. These ones are a little bit all over the place. So one of the prompts is water, and I have 3 books for that. I don't even really know which one is going to be my high priority for this particular set. I think this one's going to be a lot more mood reading. 2 of these you'll have seen very recently because they were on my April TBR and I just haven't got round to them. So one of them is Sea Room. This is by Adam Nicolson, and it is about a gentleman who inherits 3 islands. They're the Shiant Islands, and it's about him going and living on them and his experiences with 500,000 puffins apparently. So this one looks really good fun. One on a ridiculously similar note is Waterfalls of Stars by Rosanna Alexander. This is 10 years on the island of Skoma. Skoma is, again, it's another island off the coast of the UK, and it needs a warden of some sort. So her and her boyfriend, who quickly becomes her husband because that's part of the criteria for being able to live on this island and being paid to look after it, end up moving out there and become the warden to this island and all of the plant and animal life that's on there. And it's 10 years of kind of their isolation out there. Both of them seem very similar, so I don't know which one I'm going to kind of get to first or which one I'll prioritise, but they have been on quite a few of my TBRs for quite a while now, so I will get to at least one of them, and I might even start one of them before SpringAthon officially starts because they were on my April TBR. So another one that was from one of the book options from my kind of 10 anticipated reads that you lovely people picked is Into the Planet, My Life as a Cave Diver by Jill Heinerth. This didn't actually get a crazy number of votes for it, but Olive recommended maybe picking it up in like audiobook or ebook form, and I thought that that was a really good idea because I didn't actually have too many audiobooks for this particular readathon other than The Lost World, which is quite short. So I had a credit to spend on Audible, so that's exactly what I've done, which means that I'm really definitely going to get around to this one because I'm listening to quite a lot of audiobooks at the moment when I go out for like bike rides and walks and things like that, so I'm hoping that I'll kind of get through this quite quick. It's fairly self-explanatory, it's in the title. It is a woman's memoirs as she is a cave diver, which sounds ridiculously cool, so I'm really excited about this one. Next we have Animal, and this does feature two of the books that were the most popular from the voting. There was a third which I basically can't get a hold of. There were three that were joint winners. One of them was The Sakura Obsession, which I haven't been able to buy, basically because it's an American publication and it's just looking like supply in the UK is almost impossible. So for now that one has been benched, but the other two that were also joint top is, one of them was Incredible Journeys by David Barrie. This is exploring the wonders of animal navigation, and it's about how animals are able to navigate in our world and use things like echolocation, the poles, all sorts of different things like that, magnetic fields. It just looks ridiculously cool, quite niche, but a lot of you were very keen on it, so it's high priority. I'm definitely going to read it in SpringAthon so I can let you know my thoughts. The other one that won as well was Extraordinary Insects by Anne... Shoot, I was supposed to look up how to pronounce that name and I forgot. Sorry. This, obviously, as the title suggests, is about insects, and again was a ridiculously popular choice from the list. They've actually gone, I've got a shiny cover for the beta, which is so exciting. Apparently a lot of you guys agree with me that insects are creepy, gross, but ridiculously cool. So yeah, I'm super psyched. I know very little about insects in general. I've watched a fair number of documentaries and things, but sort of that background knowledge, I've never really kind of sat down and like focused in on them as an idea. So I'm definitely going to get to this one as well, again because you guys picked it. The last one for the topic of animals, if I do happen to get around to it, but I'm not gonna lie to you guys, it is quite low on the list of priorities, is Feral by George Monbiot. I'm going to go with. This is about rewilding, and specifically it's more of a kind of technical approach to rewilding. So I have read a book about the process of rewilding before. I've read Wilding by Isabella Tree, which is, I definitely recommend. It's fantastic and it's been quite popular as an option for either as a recommendation or on people's TBRs for SpringAthon. That one was about a memoir of someone's personal experiences with it, whereas this is more of a technical scientific look at the process of rewilding and its various benefits. So it is going to be a little bit more scientific in approach, and Isabella Tree does actually mention this book in her book as one of the resources that she used through the process of rewilding. So yeah, I don't know when I'm going to get to this one, I'm not going to lie, but it is something that I find really interesting. I really enjoyed Isabella Tree's book, so it would be nice to know more of the kind of scientific ideas and the research that's gone into the process of rewilding. But I have many other ones on this list that are a higher priority. And the last prompt for this one is travel, and I've taken a few liberties with the concept of this one. So I do have a book left over from the BookTube prize that I do need to read before the end of May, and that is Sea People, The Puzzle of Polynesia by Christina Thompson. This is looking specifically at the prehistory of the Polynesian islands and how did people, as in like human Homo sapiens, end up on those islands to then end up evolving to the civilizations that we know that are there today. So I thought this would fit really nicely nicely for travel, because it's the idea of how did early humanity kind of travel to those islands and what kind of interactions have those islands had with the rest of the world. This is definitely the highest priority, because like I said, I need to read it before the end of May to be able to judge it for the BookTube prize. But I do have 2 more books also on this list that are quite high priority for this particular section as well. I really want to get to The Ends of the World by Peter Brannen. Again, like I said, I was listening to this Audible original. It's called The Grown-Up Guide to Dinosaurs and was absolutely amazing. Totally go check it out if you're into dinosaurs in any kind of way. But Peter Brannen was one of the ones who was listed as was interviewed in that particular kind of podcasty audio thing, because his research is in the various different apocalypses or extinction events that have happened across the world. There are 5 that have happened that we know about in history, one of them being obviously the one that killed off the dinosaurs, but there was also one kind of in a middling point for them, and one very early on that sparked the start of the dinosaurs. There's been a few more. I'm assuming the Ice Age is in this one as well. I know very little about exactly, like I said, I don't really know the history of the extinction events. It's something that'd be really interesting, and listening to The Grown-Up Guide to Dinosaurs and hearing from Peter Brannen reminded me that I have this book on my shelf and I've had it for a while and haven't got around to it yet. My idea for travel was that we're going to be travelling back in time and travelling through the history of the planet. Yeah, I'm going to claim, yeah, you can give me that one, that's fine. And I'm assuming that we're going to be bouncing all across the globe looking at these different extinction events. So I'm super psyched for this book and I really want to get around to it. The final one that I have to talk about is Erebus by Michael Palin. This is the story of a ship is what it says on the back, and basically it is an expedition. This particular boat went out on an expedition. She actually had 2 very famous expeditions apparently, according to the back, but she never came back from the last one of them. And in 2014 she was discovered. She was missing for 160 years, and in 2014 she was discovered, and this is her story and what we know about her and her voyage and the people that were on her, etc, etc. It looked really good fun. I've heard very positive things about this, and Michael Palin is, you know, a very renowned travel / nature writer in general. I've never actually read any of his books, so I'm very keen for this one, and I do quite like journey and adventure style stories, so I thought that this would be really interesting and good fun. Like I said though, it's not the highest priority on the list. This one and Feral are probably the lowest of the ones that I have on this list. However, so those are 15 books that I'm really keen to try and get to in SpringAthon. I might be able to do all of them in the 2 weeks, especially if we remain in lockdown and I'm still furloughed, because my reading has definitely jumped up quite a lot. Are there any on this list that you think I should definitely try and prioritise, that you'd love to know my thoughts about, anything like that? Please do let me know in the comments down below. And because I forgot to show you at the beginning, this is my little bullet journal spread for it. We're doing potted plants and house plants for May, so this is my little one. These are my plans, and then this is where they'll actually be. These are all a bit jumbled from what I actually said in terms of what fits in with what, because there are quite a few that kind of, like I said, animal, sea and travel can very much mix and match. A lot of them will fit into multiple different prompts. So that is it from me. Have a wonderful reading week, and I will chat to you soon. Bye guys.